Welcome to the Weekly Bark, where ordinary people are talking about extraordinary things. Sit back and enjoy the ride. The Weekly Bark. Hey folks, welcome to the Weekly Bark. My name is Jesse Moss and I'm your host. And this week I want to, before we get started, I want to talk about red rooibos tea. I don't know if you've ever had red rooibos tea or not, but it comes from South Africa and it is delicious. It's I love it in the wintertime when it's ice cold outside, but I also really kind of digging it kind of as a summertime drink as well. It comes from South Africa. There's no caffeine, just an herbal tea. It's sweet, has a little bit of sweetness on its own, kind of has a vanilla-y flavor to it. So that's something you're interested in. You should check out red rooibos if you've never done it before, but it is delicious. And I don't know about you, but I have been getting my butt kicked by allergies since spring has kind of come around. So pardon my voice a little bit tonight, but I had to take an allergy pill today, and I've just been sneezing all over the place. So hopefully I can get through this all right. We had this opportunity this week. It was spring break for us, so we took the kids out to see their grandparents. They live in a little town in Arizona called Lake Havasu. If you're not familiar with it, it's a little town that's on the Colorado River. Lake Havasu is the result of damming up the Colorado River, and it's a lake that's made by Parker Dam, which is in the south of Lake Havasu, and it floods this valley. So it has a nice big lake, but then you can also run up north in the gorges as you're going up towards Laughlin, Nevada, into some of the most beautiful desert you'll ever see in your life. And with that coupled with the water, and then in the summertime when it's 120 degrees outside, it's a nice place to go and kind of hang out in the river and cool off. And it got me thinking about it as we were riding up on the pontoon boat. You know, what is it about rivers and bodies of water that really sort of move us? To me, it's like there's no place I'd rather be, especially... And I guess not even in the summertime, but summertime's kind of is a cool time because it's hot and then it's refreshing. But there's something really kind of cathartic and spiritual about rivers. I remember when I was younger and I used to surf all the time. There was a year of my life when I had surfed every single day for a complete year. And it wasn't that I was some killer shredder and loved cutting up and down on these waves. It was more what I enjoyed doing is either going out first thing in the morning or in the evening. And I would just kind of paddle my board out past where the waves were breaking. And I would just sit on it and just feel the pulse of the ocean as the swells were coming in and coming out. And just kind of contemplate life. It's fun in California because you could watch the sunset over the ocean. Or if you're in there in the morning, you'd watch it come rising up over the land and out towards the sea. And it was just a spectacularly beautiful and breathtaking place. And I kind of want to paint a picture of these canyons as you're going up to this place called the Gorges. You have this beautiful desert surroundings with these red rust rocks and canyons. And if you're into like dirt biking and razors, I mean, it's just a fun place for all that. I love taking my mountain bike out there in the summertime, and I'll go first thing in the morning, just at dawn when it's warm, but it's not ridiculous. And I'll go out and ride my mountain bike in a park called Sarah Park out there, and just kind of enjoy that surroundings. A little bit about Lake Havasu is that I didn't know about the Colorado rivers. Did you know that not a single drop of that water ever makes it back to the ocean? It's all dammed up and used for agriculture and irrigation out there. And it just blows my mind to think that the river that carved the Grand Canyon, and that's as old as time immemorial, no longer does a drop of that water ever make it out to the ocean. It's all used up before it even gets there. It meanders all the way down, and there's what's left in Mexico is all used up in farmlands down there before it ever gets to the ocean. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of a primal place. When you get to these river communities, you see people kind of engaging in their most primal desires and whatnot. I think that's why there's a lot of party cultures down there. And like when we go where we launch, you have to go through a place called the Channel. And the Channel's where everybody likes to kind of park their boats, and that's what they do. They just party. And that's not my scene. We kind of cruise up north, and then we like to go to this place called the Gorge. My father-in-law, he likes to equate it to going to church when we get up there. He goes, when we get out just in the middle of the lake or out up in one of these little, coves where we can beach the boat and just kind of sit and hang out. He's like, yeah, this is church for me. And it was funny because it reminded me, as we were going out this weekend, of a poem by Langston Hughes where he had talked about, he goes, I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when the dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like rivers. And anytime I'm on that river, the Colorado River, but any river for that matter, for me that experience is it's an amazingly sort of cathartic. Last year, I started practicing meditation. I'd practiced it before when I was in high school. I kind of went away from the practice. And it wasn't because I didn't feel like the benefit of it. I think I got spooked by my religious upbringing, that it might have been something evil. Well, obviously, I've done a 180-degree turn on that since then. And one of the things that my healthcare provider did during COVID is they provided all their members the free Calm app. And so in there, they had a bunch of guided meditations. And so I started playing around with these guided meditations. And I think I went through like a 30-day guided meditation that was done by a guy named Jeff Warren. And there I learned some really cool techniques that really got me back into into meditation, and I can see the benefit of it. It's been peaceful and calming. And so anyway, while I was on the boat, we were kind of sitting on the front of the bow. My father-in-law was driving, the kids were all in the back, and I'm just sitting there and I'm getting blasted in the face by the wind. And I'm looking into the distance, and I kind of just sit and I start breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and I just sort of kind of get into that meditative mindset. And as I'm sitting there, it was an amazing sort of feeling, because I was just in the moment. I was just trying to be in the moment and feel all of the sensations that were going on around me without thinking about them. Like, you would go through these patches where it'd be really cold wind, and then it'd be really warm wind, and then it'd be cold again. And you'd hear, and you'd have all these sounds going by, and boats vroom as they're passing you, and all this sort of stuff. But yet it was sort of inaudible, or nothing that you had to like discern or think about. And it was cool because as I was doing that, I had this really sort of cool experience. As I was looking in front of me, I had my sunglasses on, and I'd blink, and it was as if I could see, like, I don't know, dust on my eye, the lens of my eye, and it almost looked like a little cell. Like, if you've ever like looked under a microscope, and you could see like little cells in a microscope, or maybe an amoeba or something like that. It was almost something similar to that. But then when I tried to focus on it, it would disappear. It would move away. And so then I started playing with that, and it would be when I blinked and when I opened again, I could see them. But then as I tried to look at them, they would kind of bolt away. And so I went through this whole kind of process. Then I could learn that if I looked in the opposite direction, I'd pull them with me, and then I could try to get back and see them before they vanished. And it was just this kind of fun little game. I don't know, I might need to go see an eye doctor or something, but it was a sort of cool meditative bit. And then from there, when I looked from that past my own eyes into the distance, and you saw these beautiful rocks shooting up from the ground. So you had the water, and then the rocks coming up, and then the sky. It was almost as if I had was looking at myself riding into a 2D picture, as if there was no depth between the mountains and the sky, like they were just right on top of each other, as if you were to paint them on paper. And I had this sort of surreal experience of being in a 2D sort of headspace. And I don't know, it was just really kind of cool going through all that. And I did that for several minutes, and it was neat. I had a similar experience a long time ago when I used to fly on helicopters all the time. I would sit, so as the helicopter is flying forward, I would kind of sit, perpendicular to where the pilots were. So the pilots would be sitting up here, and I had a seat that would face out the window. And we were flying at night, and it was late, and I think we had the NVGs on, and I was kind of dozing off, and I remember I fell asleep, but when I woke up again, I was looking under the NVGs, and I couldn't tell where the land ended and the sky began. And I had this sensation that we had flipped on sideways, and I was looking straight up into the sky. And it took me probably 15 seconds to realign myself to see that, no, what I was really looking at is we were flying right, but the lights from the ground perfectly melted into the stars in the sky, and it gave this sort of concave sort of experience. And I had this momentary lapse, and it was just this trippy place where my senses didn't make sense. I guess it would be almost something like what people have described when they go into those sensory deprivation chambers and things like that. Anyway, this time it wasn't nearly as frightening as that time when I was on the helicopter. And I know somebody's gone, "What were you smoking?" Not a thing, man. This was purely natural. And so it is. I don't know what these bodies or water do, but it just makes me in a happy place. And as I was watching this, and I've seen the 2D, and I'm doing my breathing, I just had this incredible sense of peace and euphoria and calmness and gratitude. And that was the big thing, is I had a ton of gratitude because I was with the people I cared most about. My family was there, my children, and we just had this amazing, peaceful afternoon. I don't know, if you get a chance, get out on a river and go and enjoy the sights there and take some time doing that. I want to bring up, as I was going through the news this week, again, I'm always looking for what's right in the world today, and I want to talk about the hero of the week. This week is going to go out to a man from North Carolina. His name's Chris Perez. Chris Perez donated a kidney to a complete stranger that he found out about. He found out this guy Steve Sanders needed a kidney over the internet. Steve was a single dad. He's in his 40s. He has this weird, not weird, but rare genetic disorder called, and I'm going to screw this up, but it's Uromoldalin kidney disease, UKD. And that's basically where the kidneys start failing over time and eventually resulting in either permanent dialysis or the need of a kidney transplant. Well, Steve leads a pretty active life, and he has 2 small children. He's a single dad, and he knew that going on dialysis for the rest of his life would really kind of get in the way of the things he was trying to do. So he wanted to try to get that transplant. And so what he did is he just put out, he created a website and social media and put it out there. Hey, if anybody could help me out. And then several people had offered, and then for whatever reason, they kind of, the other people that were going to donate just kind of fell away, and it wasn't able to happen until Chris Perez's wife had seen this and asked him if that would be something he'd be willing to do. And he did a bunch of research. The men talked on the phone, they hit it off, and he was able to donate one of his kidneys to Steve. And the 2 men became friends after the fact, but they were complete strangers ahead of time. And anyway, as we go through the news, and we often see all this garbage about the horrible stuff that's going on in the world, and war and pestilence and famine, and all those things are bad, but I just, it's just, we need to put it in perspective that there are really good and decent people out there. They're doing amazing things. So hey, I salute you, Mr. Perez. What you did for Mr. Saunders was an incredible act of generosity and kindness, and I'm glad I live on a planet where there's people like you. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys this week. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be here next week with another episode of the Weekly Bark. Have a great week. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. The Weekly Bark.